Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you being here. It's been a long awaited video for me as well as for you. I hope you enjoy it. It's something that I was asked about to do in a heart to heart, and then I just got curious about doing it myself. So we put it together and we came to a video content. Hope you enjoy it. I've also never ever shared my screen on a live video, so I'm hoping it works. I'm hoping I can do this. I have had quite a bit of experience with the Zoom meetings that we have at work and the virtual teaching. We had to share screens that way. So I think it kind of works the same way. I practiced a little bit yesterday, so I hope we can do it. I'm going to share a little bit of the screen with you. Of course, I'm going to try to keep a lot of things confidential as far as names and everything like that. So I'm hoping I don't make that mistake, but if I do, well, we'll just pray that we don't have any unscrupulous people out there who have some kind of vendettas or anything like that. We shall see. But welcome, everyone. We are doing, let me know how I sound on the stream as well. I'm doing StreamYard because I really don't know how to, I don't know why I did StreamYard. I thought it would be easier to share a screen that way, but I'm not sure. We'll see how it works out. I think I can see the chat coming in already. Welcome in. What we're here to do is to discuss DNA. What do we know about? I don't know much about it, honestly, but why do we care? It's very, very popular. It's a thing that you can do for very relatively little money. For $100, you can find out a lot of things about your background. Why is it important to you? Have you done it? Let me know in the chat. We'll of course include you in on the conversation. That's what makes it fun here at a heart to heart. And let me know if you did it, why you did it, what your impressions were, and then I'll share mine, my surprises, my kind of confirmations. So a lot of things, of course, I knew, but not quite everything. And what I'm learning in regards to DNA and politics and history and geography and all that wonderful thing that we never ever stop learning. And I'm a real geek when it comes to things like that. I don't delve too much into science or anything like that, but I really, am very intrigued by this particular science. And so therefore I'm trying to become a little bit more acclimated with all of that knowledge that they're imparting on us, and that you can even actually get even more, even on your health and all of that. And I didn't do the health one. I think it's only about, I think they're offering it right now for $69 actually. And they send me a lot of coupons and everything to share with relatives. I'm trying to get my husband to do it. So let me say hello to a couple of people in the chat. Thank you guys for coming in. Let me see if I sound okay, because like I said, this is the first time I've shared a screen, and I rarely come out on, I rarely use StreamYard. I've only used it to do collaborations with certain people. Like last night I was helping Miss Anna with calling her auction, and that's the only time, and when I've done other people, collaborations and so forth. Hey, Miss Carrie, how's it going over in Australia? We kind of ducked the storm a little bit here. We did lose some light, not in my house, but in the city. My daughters were without their lights, and my mother as well. So, but they're back on now. We're back at school. We did take the day off today. They closed all the schools in the city because of the light situation, and trees are down. We live in a topography of tall old pines and everything. So it can get hairy to make your way to work. The commute's always very hazardous to begin with. Just waking up and getting in that car is dangerous, much less when you add the elements of inclement weather. Vern is here as well. Thank you for being here. And Denise. And I really like the way the chat comes out right here on this side. I don't have to look for it so much. Hi, Becky. You got off work today? Well, that's good. I hope you didn't have too much to deal with, though, Becky. I know you live in another part of Texas, not too far from Houston. But boy, you know how Houston is. It gets flooded at the drop of a hat. You love the CP turquoise necklace. I'm so glad you're happy with it. Isn't it amazing? Carolyn Pollock, beautiful, beautiful piece. I love the array of colors in it, and just the way it's presented. It looks so regal, doesn't it? The way it's designed, it looks like one of those Cleopatra collars or something. I kind of wore my Mexican design here. I love it. It is a super heavy 80 grams of lapis inlaid in here as well into the sterling. So in kind of homage to my to my DNA thing. And if you get a little geeked out, stick around with me, because we're going to delve into it in just a minute. This is clear. Good, good, good. Sounds good too. Yeah. The mic was acting weird last night when I was helping Miss Anna. I think I had the volume too high. When I got too close to it, it kind of had some reverberations or whatever it's called. What's it called? There's a technical term. Look and sound great. Good, 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 good. Let me see who else popped in. Cleopatra, exactly, exactly. StreamYard is pretty good. I don't know if it's just because it's on StreamYard or what. I did have a real bad technical issue on my auction on Saturday, but I think that was just my fault because I didn't realize that the Google Stream Mesh stream, which has really helped, kind of the weak spots of the Wi-Fi. I forgot that I had added a Wi-Fi name to that, and that name didn't work with the router. That password rather has its own. That system has its own password, so I kept using the router password, and then I had to rely on the older Wi-Fi. And I don't know. I am not a tech geek, but I'm glad it's okay. I'm glad it's better. Hi, Miss Sanja. So again, did you guys? Hi, Lynn. Thank you for being here. Oh, thank you. Really? Oh my gosh, that's not good. I like a little. I like a little. What was it? One time, I was buying. I was buying a camera back in the days of eBay when you had to take your own pictures from a camera and then upload them. I was consulting a professional photographer who we kind of became friends on Facebook, and he advised me to get one that had a nice focus. He said, but you never want something with a really, really sharp focus because people are going to focus on that little scratch on the ring or something that you wouldn't see with the naked eye, but the camera will see it. So yeah, I like a little murkiness going on. Miss Carrie. Oh my goodness. All right, so there's a few people here already. We can get started and looking at the DNA, but you guys haven't shared with me whether that interests you or not, whether you've done it or not. I want my husband to do it. Like I told you before, the reason I got interested in doing it myself was that my son insisted that his grandmothers do it so that he could delve into his background a little bit more. Grandparents supposedly have a real good key to some of that knowledge. So with their DNA. So then he did my mother's. He had my mother and my mother-in-law do it. And then he did his, of course. And then he even did his dogs. He has a mutt, and he wanted to know where the mutt came from. We found out. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. Then one day we had a discount day with the teachers. They were offering 50 off or something to order it. They gave us like a list of discounts for that day for teacher appreciation. And that was one. So that's when I ordered it. And, just to satisfy my curiosity too. But I will go over here and see if I can share the screen with you. And please bear with me because I've not done this before. See, now I can't find where it says, oh, there it is, share. All right. Here we go. Share the screen. And video file or share screen. I will share screen, and there I am. And then I can choose a Chrome tab right here. And I should have it right there under Ancestry. And I have like 3 tabs open. And I know there's a way for me to remain on the screen, but I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to go in here and see what I see. All right. You had yours done, Ms. Verna? 2 years ago as Christmas presents. That's fabulous. All right. So there I am. There I am. And it looks like it says it's 55% European, and then it breaks down the other percentage here. So it's Spanish and Portuguese. And let me just go to the beginning here where it says the overall report. Okay, here it breaks it down really pretty in a little pie there. View your ancestry composition. I really like this. And you can get this done in a book. They can do it in book form for you if you want to have, but they update it all the time. So I'm not sure if I would want to commit to having a book done right now. So there it is. It's 55% European, Southern European, 52.9%. Spanish Portuguese is the highest percentage there. So then it says explore your Spanish heritage, 51.8% Spanish and Portuguese. So in Europe There it is, Spanish and Portuguese. And I always knew I had a grandfather or my father's grandfather born in Spain, but that's what he told us. And it's interesting because I have pictures of my ancestors. Now maybe I'll put it in the thumbnail for the video. And they look very ethnic, Native American, indigenous, uh, Hispanic. And but the ones that I saw old pictures at my grandmother's house on my father's side, and they have this really European look, very, very interesting, very different, very, very, very different. So there it is there, Spanish and Portuguese, 51.8%. And then, I don't know about this Jewish, 1.7%, broadly Southern. So you can go in there and it tells you what that means, including the Iberian, Italian, Balkan peninsulas. The Spanish Portuguese is there. The indigenous is the one that I knew that I had some indigenous ancestry, indigenous American, so 37%. And it was funny because I thought I would have more percentage of the indigenous than the European. I have 55%. And I was telling my coworker about it. He said, yeah, 37% indigenous? That's a lot. It's like, okay, I guess it is. I don't know. But yeah, indigenous American. And then, of course, there it is there. Explore your indigenous American heritage. And where is it going to take me now? So there it is. Your DNA suggests 37.0% ancestry is indigenous. And then it says Nueva America. And then I love the way they did this. Like they broke up how the indigenous in Mexico and Belize, Peru, Argentina, Brazil, and what percentage of indigenous is there in that particular country, or, more prevalent in that country. The pie charts highlight the genetic diversity within these countries. For example, 23andMe customers from Belize typically have some European ancestry, some sub-Saharan African ancestry, and some indigenous American ancestry. And Grenada, typically, so forth and so on. And then Canada, and then this was very interesting too. This was one thing that I found really interesting, respecting tribal autonomy in the age of genetic testing. And I did order some books on this because a lot of people are wondering, well, why can't I use this for tribal affiliation and so forth? And it gets very political, and you have to be very respectful of what you're seeking to get with this kind of information, because it takes much more than just ancestry to be considered into a tribal affiliation or a nation. And so let's go back to the screen real quick. Let me see if I can see you guys again so I can see the comments. Oh, there I am. Hi, Lizzie and Louie. 1/3 of your body is indigenous. That's a lot. Yeah, that's what yeah, exactly. And mine is 55% European. So mine is a little bit more. And then I have I'm connected to my son we can share each other's information and charts and everything. His is more like 49% European. And what really threw me for a loop more than anything here is that there's a DNA tree as well. There's actually a DNA tree here. Let me see if I can go back and see it. Let me know if you can see the screen full screen, or if you're just seeing it like I'm looking at it right now. Let me go back to this. I think I can go back to this one. Can you see the full screen there? Let me look on the video over here. And again, we're going to geek out. You guys need to tell me what you think about everything too, not just me. It's not just me. All right. I'm trying to see how it looks on my channel so I can, yeah, there I am. Okay, so it's not showing you much, is it? It's not showing you much when I switch screens. It doesn't appear to be. All right, let me try again, because I wanted it to be on the full screen so you could help me look at this. Oops, I'm late. Hi, Coast Home. How are you? We're just looking at the DNA, and I thought we were just sharing. Let me stop the screen. Stop the screen really quick. Okay, we're back. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, it was quite a bit of indigenous. And what freaked me out more than anything, and I'll share again, is that you can actually see your family tree, see your DNA relatives. You have a little list of DNA relatives, actually. And you can see them in the family tree. You can see them by name and picture. Now, those that decided to share, of course, right? And I saw 3 people I know personally. And so I was like, wow, that is really cool. You could actually see that. I saw my first cousins. Um, one of them is actually studying to be a doctor. That's actually my second cousin once removed, which is my cousin's daughter. I saw another, okay, mostly second cousins, 3 second cousins and 2 first cousins. And then it goes on to third and once removed. And I just learned what once removed means. Once or twice removed, it means generations. I had no idea what all of that terminology meant. So to say that I was surprised and impressed to learn more and more about, how these things are termed and what they mean and whatnot. And I've had 2 people reach out to me. I have 2 messages, several messages right here on the bell. Can you see the bell up there? I hope you can see it. Um, both of them have been from California. And so we've exchanged the names of our grandparents. And I don't know all of the full names of my great grandparents. So I want to find that out. But yeah, very, very interesting things to see it right here on the tree. See over here under ancestry. You can actually see the DNA relatives. I'm not going to click it because it does name them. I did find, so it does name them, and then you can actually manipulate your own family tree. So if like they had one listed as my second cousin, but he's actually my first cousin. So I had to go fix that one. But yeah, I mean, I was just, wow, I cannot believe. And these are cousins that are mostly from my father's side, actually. One was from my mother's side. But it was very interesting to know what were they searching for. I've had 2 people contact me, and he said, I really want to know my relatives on my da-da-da side, my mother's side, so forth and so on. Let me know what you know, and so forth. And so we agreed to, keep each other abreast when we find out more things. And I gave them the last names that my surnames in my family. And they're going to ask, I have one who just has one aunt living relative. So she wants to get with her and then come back to me and see, what we know. And I have to really go sit in front of my mother as well, because I know she knows people that I don't know. And I think she can help me through all of this. The traits overview was really fun too. This one tells you, well, here's the close relatives. I have 2 close relatives, but I really should have 2 more on here because my mother and mother-in-law are on here. I just need to connect with them. And then I had 1,500, right here it says 1,500, I hope you can see it, relatives. Your friend found out she had an older brother from her mom after she died. He'd been adopted. Her mom died with the secret. I'm ambivalent about knowing these things. Yeah. It's amazing how the percentages changes as more of your family has. Yeah, that's it too, Miss Verna. Absolutely. And my son keeps getting updates to my mother's. They found a lot of Italian in hers. And he gets the updates on it because he's the one that did it for her and she really could care less. But I definitely wanted to know. So that was that. And then explore your traits about your appearance. This was funny. I really like this one because it was very true. So cheek dimples, the percentage, 72%, you don't have them. I don't. Cleft chin, I don't. Dandruff, no, I don't. Earwax, I don't. They're correct on that one. The earlobe type, they're correct. The eye color, absolutely. And everything, the finger length, the hair as well. I do have really thick hair. I have a few freckles, but not really, and definitely darker hair, dark eyes, and kind of right there on the light to dark. Your genetics predicts 67 of dark brown hair, not black, and then more pigmentation of your skin, 58% chance of light brown skin. So, yeah, I would say probably that's correct. I do have kind of a beautiful tan. My sister is much lighter skinned than me, much lighter skin, and my mother is very fair. She burns very easily, and she has freckles. And so that was very, very nice to read all of that. All of that. 1% of red hair. Nope, no. But my son was born with red hair. A unibrow. Absolutely, every one of us had a kind of a unibrow going on. We definitely used the tweezers. Don't have a widow's peak, so I really liked all of that. The texture, there's the texture that was interesting to note. But more than anything, yeah, absolutely about the uh, the family tree here was fun. The relatives, the reports, and you can keep answering more and more questions. You can go back and change your questions. I like that. So it's very much an interactive thing. This is the 23andMe. So I really like that. Let me see what the all ancestry reports are. Oh, this is interesting. They even have a Neanderthal ancestry. 238 variants, maternal. And then there's something here about because I'm a female, I can't quite get the paternal, I think, because I only have the chromosome thing, right? So that's interesting on that note. And family and friends, your DNA, your family tree. I can't show you that either because it's got names, but that's where I was able to build it. And I still have to add my mother and my father to that. And I'm hoping to add my husband as well. I'm hoping he will do it. And I may upgrade to health. I'm not sure yet. I'm not quite sure. But that was very cool. Let me see what else we have over here. Overview. Ancestry composition. Yeah, and then what it says is because there are so many, the Native American population is so varied, so vast all over that there's no way they can tell you, oh, you're Navajo or you're Mayan or you're Aztec. Very likely, my indigenous composition is Mexican. Mexico. They even said, why can't I find it now? Summary. They did give me some parts, though, of where very likely it would be. Sinaloa, I think, different parts. View your indigenous American report. Understand what genetic ancestry tests can and cannot tell you. Just as countries have the sovereign right to decide who is a citizen, tribes within the United States and First Nations within Canada determine membership based on many factors such as cultural affiliation, residence, community, and connection, genealogy, self-identification, and language. So I thought that was really, really interesting. I definitely read more about this, and then through some indigenous groups, and now US and Canada have used, though they have used the DNA paternity test in some cases to determine descent from a known ancestor, genetic ancestry tests like those conducted by 23andMe are not used by indigenous groups to determine membership, given how deeply held identity can be and the ways that colonial ideas of race have impacted indigenous sovereignties. It is unrealistic to think that claims about indigenous American DNA will not impact cultural and political understanding of indigeneity. View diversity among indigenous peoples. There are over 570 federally recognized Alaskan Native villages, American Indian tribes in the United States alone, plus over 630 recognized First Nations, governments, or bands in Canada. But there are many other, in addition to those with federal recognition. In the context of the U.S., tribal recognition also happens on the state level in Central and South America. Here, there are more than 700. So here, frequently asked questions: what tribes or nations are included? Are specific tribes connected? Why can't we use these results to seek tribal membership? Was this feature associated content reviewed by any subject matter experts understanding the science? And so, yeah, very, very cool. Lots of geeky information here. It interests me. It may not interest you. I definitely ordered books because I'm very interested in the politics of this and how we, are very quick to think that because someone told you in your family that you had some kind of Native American heritage, and then you come here and you see nothing, and then maybe you do see it, but you don't have any affiliation. So there's more to it than just having these tests, and these tests are actually considered. They're not considered as membership for any kind of affiliation, and because it does have some privileges when you are recognized into a certain thing, into a certain tribe or nation. And I also found this. Am I using the right word? I love this. The impact of words and tips for using appropriate terminology. So whether you want to say indigenous, whether you want to say Indian, American Indian, Native American, it's up to the persons in their own right. So always ask, what is your preference? Many of them want to be known as their own tribal name, whatever it may be. Many people prefer indigenous. I realized here that in Mexico and South America, the translation for Indian can actually have a negative connotation. So as a result, they prefer the Spanish word indígena, indigenous. And so lots of different geeky things like that, guys. But let me go back to the chat over here and see if I can see you and what you're talking about. Yeah, Viking and Romani, Gypsy, some Spanish, but mostly English and Irish. The test isn't considered 100% accurate, Carrie. I wouldn't get too worked over it. But what I would do is talk with my doctor about the findings that might want to add to your medical records. Yeah, and that's what I find so interesting about not just the people that are reaching out to me, but other people that I've spoken with here on YouTube through this discussion, that they're adopted and they want to know their medical history. I myself have relatives that are adopted, and I don't blame them if that's what they would want to do as well, or many of them could care less. But it's very much, I think, a helpful thing. And yeah, they're not 100% accurate, but the more people that participate in it, that's why it's wonderful that you can keep getting updates, because they've got a pool of research already there, and they have more and more people joining. And then, of course, you're responsible for finding out even more about your actual names and history and locations and so forth, where you've moved to, where your parents lived at one time, and so forth. But I was totally floored to, like I said, see a handful of cousins that I know personally, that I grew up with, and then second and third generations of, once or twice removed cousins as well. And then third cousins or so that, according to this, we share, third grandparents or something like that. And I guess we'll find out more. And that's what's intriguing to me about it. Yeah. Something for fun. My friend found out her mother cheated and her adopted dad was not a biological dad. Oh my goodness. I think if you're adopted, it's good. Absolutely. How the percentages change. Yes. Hey, Miss Liz, how are you? Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was trying to see, because it did say more likely. And it has this thing where it's confident or not confident about certain things. So that was really interesting too. But they could confidently say that percentage, and very likely certain parts of Mexico, Guanajuato, San Luis Potosí, and maybe even some, I think they said even some but they in Central America, I believe, but mostly Mexican is where my ancestry is from. And I can't stop, looking at it. It's just so interesting. think it's over here on this one. See if I can go back over here for the other page. Order your DNA book. Yep, there it is. And there it is again. So you share DNA with 1,501 other 23andMe customers. 1,501 relatives, 2 close relatives. Wow. So that's it, guys. No surprises, except the surprise to me was that it was more European than indigenous. Not that much more when you think about the breakdown, right? But that was surprising. Yeah, Spanish, Portuguese here. %51.8% Spanish, Portuguese. They even have some ads here to travel. Never been to Spain. That's a song, isn't it? That's never been to Spain, but those are some of my relatives. These were some distant relatives, though, that I don't recognize them. They were the third cousins, and 2 of them have reached out to me. So that was cool, for sure. And then over here, Indigenous America. I think I can go here. It's a little bit of African, North African, very, very little. So see, you can edit your answers. You can keep editing your answers. That's pretty cool. And here is my report. Nueva America, the first Americans and a genetic tapestry. Very cool. 37%. All right. That is it, guys. Let me go back to the chat here and stop sharing. So now I'm playing again. 51.8% is Spanish and Portuguese. I need to go to Spain. I wanted to see where it was. Now I can't find it. I thought I had opened some tabs that I wanted to show you, and now I don't see them. Unexpected results, what to expect about that. So if you guys know about it, I'm sure you're familiar with it. I really like this little article about it as well. The term Native is often used officially, unofficially described indigenous peoples of the United States, Native Americans, Alaska, but it also can serve as a specific description: Native people, Native lands, tribe or nation. Why so many? There's no single American Indian culture or language. And again, you just refer to them or us as we want to be referred to. Always ask. Always ask. Okay, we're back. New comments. And let me stop sharing real quick. Stop screen. There we go. All right. What is also interesting is the movement of tribes of people from Europe and North America and South America over the centuries. Absolutely. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting. And like I said, the diversity of the looks with it. I mean, I don't know about your families, but my family is I have so many relatives, and I'm talking first cousins and uncles that look Asian, absolutely Asian. And then I have some with blue eyes and light hair and green eyes and red hair. And the difference between my the one I'm looking at right now, because I have it hung over here, and I will try to put it on my thumbnail. Very, very well, it's a black and white photo, but they look like they have darker skin. And then I look at the ones at my grandmother's house, which were her grandparents, and they look like they have blue eyes and very light skin and very light hair. So it's definitely a diverse. I mean, even my mother and father were very different looking, and my sister and she's much fairer than I am. And that movement from Europe to North America and South America over the centuries, and the way, the colonial issue, we can't escape the colonial issue and the intermarriages and the all of the mixtures that way. And here we are, beautiful people, hopefully getting along. You're interested. It's interesting. My DIL is that DIL daughter-in-law was adopted, and now she's having some health concerns, but no one who's still living knows anything. She's half Navajo, and they won't open the file. The mother was 16 then. Yeah, that's incredible. Did she do a DNA at all or anything like that? I think it can be so helpful that way. I really do. And all kinds of, not just the genetics and the deep science like this, but there are other agencies that help you find what you're looking for. I know the last time we talked about it here on Heart to Heart, someone said they really needed prayers. They really wanted to find their sibling. And boy, my heart goes out to them. Absolutely. Or like the lady and she's a younger, she's probably in her 30s, and she contacted me, and she only has one living relative, her aunt. And she said, I'm going to ask my Thea and what else she knows. And, because she has no other living relatives as well. 23andMe. One big gumbo pot. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, no real surprises for me, but I was really expecting more of a half. Like I had always told my son, you're going to find some Spanish European and some Native American, indigenous heritage. And he did 49% of his, and mine's 55 or whatever it was. But I didn't expect that much. And then I saw it like as so little, right? And my friend is at work, who's a scientist and a mathematician at that, said, no, that's a lot. Okay, I guess it is, considering. Make you feel more connected to your country and culture. I think it does. I mean, my country is the United States. I'm a total American. And that's probably what prompted this as well when someone asked me about my background. No, because I'm still very much American with all its issues, and like I said, colonialism and past that is not all virtuous. And then I mean, I've been a history buff for a long time. I'm a language buff, and so I know that my grandparents that were born. I have two grandparents. I only have one grandparent that was born in Mexico. The ancestors, yes, they come from Mexico and they come from Spain, as the DNA revealed. So, so I've always known that, before statehood, in what was it, 1836, when The land was taken through wars and so forth, and obtained through purchases as well, not just wars. It was not just stolen. Much of Mexico was also sold to the United States. But I've always known that you have to take that into account as well, the timeline, the history. Born in Texas, in a as far as I was born in Texas, my parents were born in Texas, their parents, but one were born in Texas, and so forth and so on. So we're talking fourth generation American Texans, and so forth. So I've always known, but I've always been connected to my Mexican heritage because my father always made sure that that we were not ashamed of speaking Spanish. He actually always insisted that we speak Spanish, not that we speak Spanish in the home only or anything like that, or that we, because I know a lot of people who really want their kids to hold on to the language, and they should. I think it's a wonderful thing that they think differently. Different generations think differently about being bilingual, and many of them think they will be stigmatized if they continue to speak Spanish. So they don't want them to speak Spanish at all. They don't want them in bilingual classes. But luckily, things have changed in the years in school. They now have heritage speaker Spanish classes, and because they know how important it is. And my dad always insisted, if you speak two languages, you can do you can do the job of two people. You will have employment where even you will serve more people. You will have an advantage. It is an advantage to be bilingual. Absolutely, especially Spanish here in Texas or California, wherever, where we have so close to the Mexican border. Therefore, that immigration, that emigration, whichever way it goes, is constant. So I always had that pride. I was never embarrassed to speak Spanish. I was never embarrassed to say my name, my last name. I sometimes kind of attenuated it a little bit because sometimes people find it hard to pronounce, especially my maiden name. But no, and I'm very proud to be from Texas. I'm very proud to know that the lands that my grandparents lived in, my dad's side, they were ranchers. They have a huge spread. They did. Theirs now belongs to the other relatives and so forth. But all of those little towns are all Spanish names. They're, most of Texas, the names are Spanish, or they're Navajo, or that's a very, very rich history. And I've never been embarrassed, never been ashamed of it. I've always been proud of it. I love my heritage. I love my Texan heritage. I love my American heritage, and I love my Mexican ancestry. And so it's definitely made me more connected to it, I guess, in a way, because I always, when I studied Mexican history and Latin American history, you learn, the mestizo, the mixture of the Europeans and the indigenous or Native Americans, and what it has produced. And along with, like I said, the horrible history, the horrific wars and deaths and destruction and colonialism, the Spanish gave me my language, my Spanish language. The Spanish gave me my religion. And some people feel differently about that. We are not a homogeneous group, and that's what I love about it as well. I'm going to probably get some comments on here that someone's going to say, no, we should go back to our indigenous roots, and they took away my religion, and they took away my language, and so forth. And that's fine. You have a right to feel that way. Absolutely. And I love looking at documentaries about that and reading history books about that. And I empathize, and I'm with you on that while I'm there, and I see it, and I cry when I see that, and I understand it. But I also am sitting here as the product of America, the United States of America, and all that it offers and all that it does. And I'm proud to say, USA, that's me. And we've all come from somewhere, right? So, and like I said, but many people feel differently about that. And I know people that, especially now that that I studied late in life, and I went to college late in life, and I became a teacher, and I am a teacher in a big city, the most diverse city in the United States of America. So I have met people from Guatemala. I have two students who do not speak Spanish. They speak Nahuatl, and they speak another language. I forget, it's a Mayan language. And So I understand them and I love them and their culture, and I think it's rich and I think it's fabulous. But they're here in the US for a reason. They're here in the United States of America because it's a great place to be. And I see them getting pride about that too. And so I see both sides of it. But what I was getting at with that is that many times people want to reject that part of their heritage and they think it's the best thing for their children. And these are younger generation parents. These are, maybe even millennials and Gen Xers, and they had different ideas. My father, the only idea that he ever imparted on us is don't lose your Spanish. Don't ever, ever lose your Spanish. I actually learned to speak Spanish even better when I went back to college as an adult because I knew how to speak it. A heritage speaker is what I was, what I am actually. But I got a degree in classical languages and in Spanish because I wanted to learn how to read it. I wanted to learn how to write it. I wanted to learn the culture. And that's what I did. And, you can be proud to be both. I hope I didn't go on too much. Let me see what you guys are saying. Lo, I'm a hillbilly. Can't hide it. When I open my mouth, it's very obvious. Awesome. Awesome. You are what you are. You don't change. You can be this or the other, but you are what you are. That's what I appreciate about a lot of cultures. And the cultures that are within my own family, like I said, my grandparents were ranchers. They truly cowboys, truly cattle ranchers. Then my other side of the family, they were actually farmers, and in a way, even I think some of them were sharecroppers almost, where they lived in the land, but they worked the land for the owner of the land. So then these two cultures meet, and so it's rich. It's really rich, and it made me who I am. What can you do about that? You're just who you are. But again, there's a lot of people that feel that they need to hide that heritage. They name their children English names. There's a lot of videos on TikTok about that, and I love it because everybody's got a different idea of their identity. Everybody's got a different idea of how they should be, what they should be, how we should think of history. That's the most important thing I think that I've learned. How you think of history. You're not going to think of history. My daughter doesn't think of history the way I do. She doesn't feel politically the way I do. She didn't live my life. My husband didn't live my life. He didn't live the life that my son is living. He had a brother die in Vietnam. He's the biggest patriot you will ever know. He's not, a hippy dippy type. He is patriotic, but he's miserable for what Vietnam was. He understands it was a catastrophe and it was a miserable thing, but he is extremely proud of his brother's service. And you're not going to tell him that you need to vote this way because this is the way it is now and this is the way we should feel politically. He feels the way he feels because it's his life. He's got his perspective on it. My son has his perspective on it. His son will have his perspective on it. And my younger cousins feel certain way. They vote certain ways, and I feel my way, and that's the way it is. You're a crack up laugh. Love Polish. I was eating pineapple, but I can't anymore. It hurts. Oh, I know, right? But I love pineapple. I read that as money and not memory. I'm fascinated by the concept of inherited memory. That too, yeah, absolutely. Deborah says, after doing a genealogy, I was interested to compare what I have found to the results of 23andMe. Oh, well, please update us when you do. Have you ever done your genealogy? I've been doing genealogy. No, I haven't, Miss Deborah. I haven't. I'd be very interested in knowing that. Like I said, I feel like I've only scratched the surface of what there is to know, and I'm looking at these third cousins and so forth, and like I said, I'm like a believer because these are people that I know. They're once and twice removed. Some are first cousins, but I know them, and they connected us. How does 23andMe know that we're connected somehow? And then the others that are reaching out to me, I can't wait to find out what's going on with that. Like I said, I want to go investigate my mother's memory, and she's still quite sharp, so not a problem there. But I need to jot down names because people are telling me, well, my father's name was this, my grandfather's name was that. I know my grandfather's name, but I don't know his father's name. My name is Maria. Nothing I could hide about that. Yes, and I love the name Maria. That's my mother-in-law's name. I love it. And it's interesting you said that because a relative again. And everybody can do what they want to do, guys. That's what we have, one life to live, right? But I had a relative who would not call herself Maria. She would call herself Marie. Marie is French. It couldn't even be Mary. It was Marie. And maybe because it was easier for her, one less syllable. I don't know. I don't know. And my mother named me Thelma, which people find very funny because they, when you say it in Spanish, you don't pronounce the H. It's just Thelma because the H is silent. But she always liked it because she said you don't change the spelling. She didn't want us to have a name that you had to change the spelling from English to Spanish. And so that's why she named me Thelma. You can still spell it the same. You just don't pronounce the H. But I think it's, I don't know what the heritage is. I know it means nurse or nursing or nursling or something. But other people, like I said, in order to acclimate their children, they do things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. You choose to do what you want to do with your life. But then I find that younger people, like my cousins, some of my younger cousins, which I guess you could say once removed, they're going back and they're picking the Spanish names and like Diego and these beautiful names. And what other names can I think about? Antonio, and I love it. I think it's a wonderful thing. So some of them are reaching back where their parents had not. They had gone with Mary and Denise and Yvonne and things like that, instead of Maria and what Margarita, things like that. Beautiful names. They're all beautiful, but everybody thinks what what works for them, But I really am glad as an educator to see that they are now not just bilingual classes, because everybody that needs it should have, I think, a bit bilingual education until they can function in a regular one. But now they're doing heritage speakers. They're doing bilingual for everyone. So if you are from Ireland and whatnot, and you want your kid to learn how to speak Spanish, you can throw them in that class too. And they speak Spanish half the day and they speak English half the day. And they all come out bilingual. And it's a beautiful thing. It really is. And I have known some children that went through it. Some of my son's friends who had children, and they're now, gosh, I guess they're probably in high school now. And they're totally bilingual because they were able to go into that immersion program. I think it's fantastic. They banned Gaelic in England back in the 60s, and my grand insisted we speak it. Forgotten now. Wow. Yeah, that's a shame. And like I said, some of the indigenous languages that I hear, and I love it when he comes in and he'll say something like, well, that means this, and I'll make him write it on the board because I love languages and I love learning things like that. And those Nahuatl and I don't know if I'm saying it correct, forgive me if I'm not, but many of those words have gone into Spanish as well, as have Arabic words as well. I think something like 15% of Spanish words are actually Arabic because of that influx of the Moors in Spain. So really cool. I'm proud of my heritage and make sure my baby is as well. Absolutely. Some of the tribes here in New Mexico say they don't believe those tests, though. Santa Domingo, the Hopi, Navajo, and other. I have a lot of friends who are Native American. It's a hot topic. Yes, I just sent for the DNA book on, I forgot who wrote it, but it's actually advertised or mentioned in the ancestor in the 23andMe. I sent for that because it's political. It's getting very political because there are some perks to affiliation, and many are trying to get in on the monies from it. And this is what the article said. It's not my opinion, that they're trying to get in on the monies from the casinos. So a lot of people are using these as a means. And that's why 23andMe took a stand on it and said that they don't. That's one of the reasons they stopped short of going further rather into that naming tribes or getting really detailed. And they prefer to go broad instead of deep. So because of that political hot topic. In England, they tell by the bones exactly where ancestors lived and their diet. Okay, let's see what comments we have down here. Yes, many words in Spanish came from the Arabic roots like alberca and what was the other one? I know almohada too. Anything with the al as in al, right? Is from a Spanish. I mean, it's from the Arabic derivative. Yeah, anything that starts with the prefix al. Alberca, almohada. Almohada is Spanish for pillow. What was the other one? Ojalá. Ojalá also is an Arabic word, which is kind of like I hope so. Ojalá, and it's in reference to Allah, which is quite interesting. You learn Spanish in the Shriners Hospital, where I had spent a lot of time in my childhood patients who were from Puerto Rico and we wanted to be able to communicate. Yes, absolutely, Miss Amy. I had a nurse friend. She's actually Cajun. She's from New Orleans, but she grew up speaking French, and she married a French guy, and they're beautiful people. I love them. She's a nurse too, and she says people often think that I speak Spanish, and I try and I throw in some French in there. We just kind of, go with those Latin roots. Hi, how are you from Montreal? Boutique Chic happens. Nice name. But yeah, that's one thing my dad always insisted on is that we continue to learn and speak Spanish, and for that I'm forever grateful. I really am, because he's absolutely right. I think one of the reasons I've survived cutbacks is because I can serve as a translator in any capacity in school, and they're very much needed. They need so many more, though. If I encourage anyone out there who's bilingual to, and even if you're not, and there's so many people that are not even from any kind of a Spanish speaking heritage that go on to study it because they're so needed, like she said, there in the medical field, in speech therapy, in as psychologists and school psychologists, school counselors, therapists. They're just such a great need. Social workers, such a great need. There is such a vast there's a lot missing in translations, as we all know, and people open up to you when you can speak their language, and it's just really important. It really is. Let me see. Tribes that have casinos. One of my friends gets a big check each quarter because she's full-blooded, but if you're half, you don't get it. Exactly. Yeah, there are definitely some perks, and that's what happened with some of this. People were starting to get really upset about its abuse and exploitation. So there's and rightly so, their rights and their properties and their means should be protected, if at all possible, when it's possible. And those that are seeking affiliation, like the thing said when we read it, it's much more than just blood. It's much more than that to claim an indigenous identity. And it's happening to artisans as well, and artists. And there was a gentleman not too long ago, I forgot his name, but I was watching a documentary on him, and for 50 years he's been claiming heritage, and they couldn't trace it. And he's a fabulous artist. I mean, it doesn't take away from his amazing paintings, and is all Southwest and beautiful landscapes and so forth. And they're not trying to degrade him, and they're just trying to bring the truth, and but then again, I understand his perspective as well, and how there is an identity as well, a cultural affiliation, a acculturation, and it doesn't always come from that bloodline. Absolutely. So many. Mm-hmm. Thelma, if you would like help to get started on doing your genealogy, I could help you and give you some places to search for free. Absolutely, Miss Deborah. My email is always in my description boxes. I'll make sure it's in this video too. Please shoot me an email there. It's thelmahordes@gmail.com. And it's usually in all of my description boxes, thelmahordes@gmail.com. I would really, really love to do that. That would be so, so interesting. Your mom named you Amy Beth after the book Little Woman. Aw, that's such a pretty name. Oh, see, I wish I had two names like that. My sister, my mother named my sister with two names, Patricia and, but not me. I guess nothing really went except what, Thelma Lou or something, but I'm glad she didn't name me Thelma Lou. Recording equipment. What do I use for recording? You mean right now on broadcast? I only have a laptop. I think it's 8 years old already. It's a MacBook. I love it. MacBook Pro. I often laugh when people say, oh, I wouldn't buy a MacBook Pro, but mine has been around for 8 years, works great. Love it. Absolutely love it. I would replace it in a minute if it ever broke down again. I mean, if I ever had to buy another one, it would be a MacBook Pro. That's what I use. I did get a, what is this called? This little mic. Yeti. It's called a Yeti. And it's not the Snowball. A lot of people get the Snowball, but then people are getting this one now. And that's all. I just added the mic because people were always saying they couldn't hear me. You're half native, and they need to be compensated for how they were treated. Cynthia Rushing. I'm half native. Thelma, please tell us about. Okay, I agree. My mom was Patricia Ann, and I didn't get a middle name. Really? That's interesting. Yeah, the Yeti mic is what I'm using. I think I had a little bit too turned up the other night because I turned and I almost lost it when I saw the video replay. But that's about it. And then when I do the videos with the jewelry, it's just my iPhone, and I have an old iPhone too. I have an 8, which is on the brink almost. It's making noises on the homepage. The home button still has a home button. So it's just an 8, and it was refurbished, and that is all I use. And I have lights. I have the ring lights. I have 2. I have one on this side, one on this side. Then I bought this other one because I used to have really good light when I was in front of a window. So if you can get in front of a window, use that daylight when you can. But then I switched the room around, the background around. So I got the windows behind me now. So I have 2 ring lights and this other light that's actually for like hobbies, like for sewing. And it's on a stand, and it has these 2 little blades that open up like that. And you have 3, I guess, degrees of light, bright and not so bright. And that's what I use. And then I have a little swing arm here now, but I used to use just a little Gorilla, I think it's called, the Gorilla tripod. Let me see if I missed any comments. Thank you for being here, Cynthia. You did a genealogy and found out your profession runs in the family. Interesting. They immigrated from Ireland and were in accounting, and so my brother and I are as well. That's so interesting. Santo Domingo. Yeah, I have a friend. I don't know where her mother is from, and I don't even know what her last name was. I thought she was Hispanic, and but I know she didn't speak Spanish, which a lot of people don't. My daughters don't speak Spanish. My son learned it, and but her mother, I think, is Navajo, and she went. She gets a lot of privileges as well as a check. She is affiliated with her nation or her tribe. I forget what she wants me to refer to it as, so I'm just probably going off the cuff here. I hope I didn't miss any questions, guys. If you do have another one, you can post it before we leave. I don't know how long we've been here. Thank you guys for joining me. I know it's not of interest to a lot of people, but it was to me, and people had asked me about my background. So I thought, and then I got interested in the 23andMe thing with my son doing everyone's and so forth. So, oh, thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate it. Yeah. And yeah, it's very interesting. It's interesting that I am a mature woman, and every day I learn something. Every day I learn something. Every day I change my mind about something. I like to think I'm enlightened about certain subjects, many on the subject of Indigenous Native American people and other groups, my group, my subgroups, however you want to call it, politics and so forth. I delve, I search, I read. I love to learn. I read from different sides of the aisle. I don't just read from this side. I don't just read from this side. I love to learn both sides of the story before I make a decision. And you should too, as well, about anything. A lot of people are so quick to take this side on whatever and this side on whatever, and whether it's politics or you know uh, just anything, any kind of whatever we may be discussing. Even my husband and I will have differences of opinion about things, but I always want to know, well, why do you feel this way about this? And then I'll think, well, you may be right about that, and I didn't think about it this way, or I didn't see it that way at first, and now I do. And as I'm teaching, I'm learning too. Every time I open a history book, I'm learning. I'm seeing what I didn't see before. I look at older books and I see little derogatory remarks and insinuations, not only about Native Americans, about Mexican Americans, about things in general, honestly. And I see them and I'm like, that's what kids were learning. Book is still in my library. Granted, it's not my book. I just happen to be in this classroom where they still have books from the 60s and the 70s and so forth. And I'm reading them, and some of them I have to put away. I've done the same thing with some books that I've had that are children's books that I'm reading to my grandkids. And I'm like, that's not the way things are done anymore. And it's not just with people, even things like animal training and things like that, honestly. So I ran into a book the other day that said to do this with your dog if he does this. And I was like, no, the school of thought these days is not to do it like that. So I think if we close ourselves off, we get nowhere. We just wither. We've always got to grow, no matter what the subject matter is. Pandora says, thanks for sharing, Thelma. I really value the stories that have been shared about my ancestry. I'd like to find out if I have Viking ancestry. Well, you should. It was really, really a cool thing for me to find out. I really enjoyed it. How my family got into genealogy, we participated in the National Geographic DNA collection, and we were traced back to the oldest female in Africa. Well, they do have that here on the chart as well. The Haleo group, I think it was, where you can actually find the female, and it's pretty cool. It really is. And let me just share one more time, guys, if I can, for those of us who arrived and before we leave. And that was here on this screen. Hopefully I can still find it here on a Chrome tab. There it is. There it is, 55% European, 37% East Asian Indigenous American. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Recent ancestry. Okay, this is where I wanted to go a minute ago. Mexico and Central America. Well, maybe not. Maybe I clicked the wrong thing. I keep clicking the wrong thing. Composition. Texted population. See all tested populations. 9 regions. Here it is. There it is. There it is. Can you guys see it? Mexico has 32 administrative regions, and we found the strongest evidence of your ancestry in the following 10 regions. I have never even been to these places, except maybe Zacatecas. No, I have been. I've been to Mexico City. I haven't been to Michoacan, and here they are over here. I have never been to Jalisco. I have been to Zacatecas. My father always wanted to go there because he loved the singer, and those of you who know Spanish music will know Antonio Aguilar. And Antonio Aguilar was born in Zacatecas. And my dad loved him, loved his music and all his rodeos that he would do through San Antonio and other places in California. Guanajuato, San Luis Potosí, and all of these little, well, some are big. Mexico City is humongous. I have visited there and Zacatecas. Never been to Chihuahua, Guanajuato, San Luis Potosí, Nuevo León, or Tamaulipas. So that is it. I finally found it. I was looking for that portion with the cities, and there it is. 37% ancestry is Indigenous American. I like that. I think that's so cool to know all of that. Where are you guys? I lost you again. There you are. All right, and we're going to stop sharing. Stop the screen again. Zacatecas is beautiful. It really is. And my dad took us to a beautiful mountaintop hotel. Oh, it was so amazing. I think I was like 12, 11 years old. Such a beautiful city. Oh, Mexico is beautiful. It really is a beautiful, beautiful country. Thank you. Thank you. You had the first MNST fun? The most fun. Okay. Those typos are crazy, right, Cynthia? They get me all the time. They didn't name her Carrie. They just listed her as the oldest female DNA. Yes, all of that is here too. But and there's certain. What is it about the female can only trace back? It's a little bit more limited than the male because of the chromosome, the X and the Y chromosome thing. Oh, don't worry about it, Miss Carrie. You had the most fun. I can read through autocorrect. Don't worry about that. I do it all the time. I have to laugh at some of the things that I actually send in my text messages. And I don't proofread them. I just send them. I'm like, oh, I can't believe it came out like that. Sometimes they are not proper. Lucy, she's the 2 million year old one. Yeah, they've talked about that one too. That's so interesting. All right, guys, I guess we're going to go. We've been on about an hour. They're making me go back to work tomorrow. The weather only held out for one day. I didn't even see much, but we did lose the electricity in other parts of the city, unfortunately. So everything should be back to normal tomorrow, back to work again. It doesn't even seem like Wednesday, but it is. Middle of the week, rather. It's a shame that people can't feel free to talk and share whatever is on one's mind. How can we learn to be better people if we can't share and ask questions? Absolutely. Absolutely. Some people can't handle the truth, though. They never have. They never have. Or as they say these days, my truth. That is an interesting concept that is of today's generation. And that's kind of what has split us apart too, honestly, not just in the United States, but I would think all over the world where there are people that, they they have their truth, and then the other truth, and then there's the school of no truth. And one of our teachers was talking about that the other day. He was talking about some philosopher, and I've heard that a lot. There is no truth. Philosophy class, you know how that is. All right. Montreal is what they test for crimes. It's more certain. Interesting. On our side, the mail didn't trace back near as far. Exactly. We may all be half aliens, to be honest. And that was Lucy. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up on the way out. Let me know what you think in the comments about my ancestry, your ancestry, our ancestry. Be nice, be kind. We get nowhere putting people down, thinking we're better than others. In the end, we all go to the same place a few feet under, right? All right, guys, talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Hope I can end this soon. It's kind of hard on StreamYard. Thank you, Becky. You too.